Hello, I'm Geeta Gurumuthu. You're watching The Context on BBC News. This year's Nobel Peace Prize is awarded to the Japanese anti-nuclear group made up of survivors of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attacks. Well, the prize this year goes to a Japanese grassroots organisation, Nihon Hidankyo. It is made up of survivors of the American atomic bomb attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during the Second World War. The Norwegian Nobel Committee praised the unique witness testimony that survivors have provided. This was the moment that it was announced. Take a listen.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Peace Prize for 2024 to the Japanese organization Nihon Hidankyo. This grassroots movement of atomic bomb survivors from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, also known as Hibakusha, is receiving the Peace Prize for its efforts to achieve a world free of nuclear weapons.
Well, the head of Nihon Hidankyo, Toshiyuki Mimaki, was watching the Norwegian Nobel Committee's announcement online at Hiroshima City Hall. Well, when he and his colleagues realised that Nihon Hidankyo had won the prize, as you see, they all looked very much overwhelmed. Emotional reaction there. The mayor of Nagasaki said he was delighted with the news that Hidankyo had become the first Japanese recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 50 years.
I was extremely delighted with the news. I am pleased that the continuous effort of the Hibakusha calling for a world without nuclear weapons has been recognised by the world. Why now? I think it is because the world is in turmoil. Russia's invasion in Ukraine, the situation in the Middle East. We are facing a possible use of nuclear weapons in this difficult situation. I believe the attempt to realise a world without nuclear weapons has been highly recognised internationally.
While those concerns about the possible use of nuclear weapons in a modern conflict have been echoed by other observers. Here's Daniel Hogstar, Deputy Director of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons.
Well, next year is the 80th anniversary of the US atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And as we all know, the Hibakusha are getting older and they won't be with us for a long time. So this award is an extremely poignant one. It comes at a poignant time. Also because in the context of the war in Ukraine and other humanitarian crises around the world, the risk of the use of nuclear weapons is as high as it's ever been, or perhaps higher than it's ever been.
Well, let me bring in our panel, Rina, Shah and John McTernan. And John, if I can just bring you in first, it's a really interesting award, this, isn't it? Of course, we are talking about the threats in the Middle East and with Ukraine of nuclear weapons. Do you think this does send a very clear message?
Well, it's incredibly moving pictures, wasn't it, of the group receiving the news of the prize and their testimony from the awful effects of the atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They have to touch you, they touch your heart. And I think we are in a very heightened period of threat. There is, discussion, genuine and realistic discussion of the potential use of tactical nuclear weapons in the Russia and Ukraine conflict. And that has to worry everybody because once a nuclear weapon is used, where does that stop? And we've seen the proliferation that was touched on in the very first item. There's a red line for Israel touching the Iranian nuclear facilities, but what are those nuclear facilities there for? And around the world, we see signs of growing proliferation after a long period in which non-proliferation treaty actually worked and people were moving away from nuclear warfare and actually reducing stockpiles. The Blair government reduced, I think, by 2/3 the number of warheads that the UK had. So at a very worrying moment for the world, geopolitically very worrying, this is a very inspiring choice, I think, for the Nobel Peace Prize.
And Rina, I just wondered also whether there's a sort of another message in this, because in a way, a country that was obviously seen as the aggressor in World War II by the Allies, of course, had its own innocent victims too. And that's, again, a message for all conflicts. Rina, we've just lost our sound. Have you muted your microphone?
Hi,
Hi.
sorry about that. I just wanted to say, it truly, that's what's being lost sometimes when we get these dispatches on our phones, on our screens of any sort of war in not only the Middle East, but what we're seeing between Russia and Ukraine now, sustained for over 2 years. It's just been a moment that I think humbles us, that there is always innocent life that is not just at risk, but unfairly killed. And when we talk about nuclear weapons, there are a lot of people who are so scared. And they are scared because there's so much unknown. And I think when we talk about peace too, that also elicits those same fears and a scared response from many folks as well. And so what I think in this moment, what we're seeing and talking about Hiroshima and nuclear weaponry, and really what we can apply to today, is an opportunity to really open the door to what peace means to everyone today. Again, here in the United States, where we are being called various things by people on all ends of the political spectrum. And then also abroad, what is America's role in the world? And so there's a broader discussion here, but at the core of it is really peace.
And John McTernan, of course, the Iran nuclear deal that the Obama administration had done was then rolled back by Trump. And, one does wonder how much that has played a part in the current difficulties in the Middle East in terms of isolating Iran. We are seeing, as I said to some of my guests, an hour ago, obviously, Iran, Russia, the US opponents, in a way, being sanctioned more. Is there a risk in that strategy? Because are you pushing your opponents together?
Look, I think one of the lessons of the past few years is that war is hell, and the better alternative is to talk and talk and talk, try to find a diplomatic solution, try to back away from conflict when conflict started, and that the abandonment of the Obama nuclear deal, for example, hasn't made the world safer. It is really difficult for the US and for the UK and for other nuclear powers to talk in the multilateral discussions, but if the alternative is war and danger for the world, we have to do the talking. Diplomacy has to have its place, and we have to, as a public, as a global public, do what we can to support the cause of peace.
Well, if that was a look at recent history from the Second World War, let's have a look at what is coming down the track, because Elon Musk has given us a glimpse into Tesla's long-awaited robotaxi, or cybercab. The tech entrepreneur pulled up on stage in the AI-powered vehicle with its metallic, futuristic exterior, promising it will be on the market as early as 2026. The two-door vehicle doesn't have a steering wheel or pedals. Instead, it relies on cameras and artificial intelligence to get around. This is a prototype with production due to start in 2026, and Tesla claims it will sell the taxis for less than $30,000 each. There are still regulatory hurdles to overcome. Here's how the tech billionaire described it.
So we'll move from supervised full self-driving to unsupervised full self-driving, where the car, you could fall asleep and wake up at your destination.
Well, also making an appearance with Tesla's robots, these humanoid machines are designed to help with household chores. The Tesla bot can carry or pick up heavy objects, walk fast in small steps, and the screen on its face can communicate. It comes just a few months after Musk warned of a robot uprising and claimed AI will outsmart mankind as soon as the end of this year. So what do the experts make of it all? Dan Sojagren is an AI and technology expert and author. He gave the BBC his take.
Elon is not the first of this by any stretch of the imagination. And let's not kid ourselves, of course. What he showed us wasn't necessarily even working. Wasn't really working on a 5G connection. And as he said, it was all done on a kind of Hollywood set. So, he's just showing us the future. But actually, the future is already here in places like China.
Rina, would you have a robot in your house doing the household chores, and would you get into a cybercab?
Well, I stayed up really late last night here in the United States to watch that rollout of We Robot. It was really exciting. Look, I have a lot of trouble with Elon Musk. I went from not liking him to liking him to now being in a not liking him place. again. But that is what he is to many folks. He's a very but the technology that he's created is quite gosh, what can I say? Not just entertaining, but intriguing in a manner that I just don't know what else has really caused this kind of let's see, excitement before over here, particularly when we talk about developments regarding AI. There's a lot coming down the pike, and it would take a whole show for me to start to explain what I like in terms of new AI apps and why some of them I think are disturbing to me as somebody that made their career speech writing. I have a little bit of trouble with some of them, but I also use AI-powered apps in my everyday life. Watching those robots last night, I was struck. I don't like the idea of a robot being my friend, but I do like the idea of a robot taking care of sanitary tasks, which, let's be honest, nobody really likes that kind of work. What really got me going, though, was the self-charging, self-driving cars. The way in which he rolled out these pictures of the cities, how they have so many parking lots right now, and how that can all turn into green space. That was really exciting. Again, so many regulatory hurdles await him, but this is a moment that left me feeling like the future is here right now.
John, did you see this launch, and do you find it exciting or terrifying?
Oh, it's dystopian, a dystopian future. I worry about the reality of these self-driving vehicles and the regulatory hurdles, and there's so much smoke and mirrors at the moment. But the AI, I'm really concerned from the point of view of humans and human labor, but also the point of view of the energy consumption required by AI. Looking at the numbers already happening for AI requiring doubling in some countries of their energy production capacity. That's in the context where we need to do the climate transition. We need to decarbonize, and we don't want to be producing decarbonized energy just to power robots for the elite, because these will never be for most of us. These are for the elite. They'll eliminate some jobs. There's all kinds of, in my mind, worries about this, and regulators need to apply current laws, current regulations to all these innovations to see what the risks and the opportunities are.
And Rina, if Donald Trump wins the US election, what will that mean for the regulatory control on Elon Musk and his future influence?
Well, as I've sat here in Washington for many weeks, I have watched tech titans come to town and go in and out of some of the best hotel lobbies in this city. And I'll tell you, it's because they are flush with cash. They are innovating and developing things that at a pace much faster than I think we've seen innovation when it comes to tech. If we look a decade ago, things were moving much slower. What these people want are some of these regulatory barriers to come down. And that's why they're in town talking to the people who make the regulations. They want some ease so they can continue to develop and promulgate a message also that all innovation is good innovation. We, as rational, reasonable humans, realize that it's not, and that AI can be problematic. Look, I am somebody that advises frontier tech companies. I am a big fan of innovations in cybersecurity, for example. I think they could help us at the southern border of the United States, for example. Instead of erecting a huge physical wall, why not deploy some innovative, sophisticated technologies like drones or, what have you? I think this conversation here about Elon and Trump, we just don't know very much. We see it. It's all kind of like a clown show right now. And I don't mean to be rude or simplistic when I say that. It's a little too sensational right now. The relationship in public obviously is cozy because one thinks they can help the other.
Well, Rina and John, we'll be back with you in a few moments. It is worth a look at that launch. The robot part is really quite thought-provoking around the world and across the UK. This is BBC News.
Το σχολείο το μόνο που μου άρεσε ήταν τα μαθηματικά. Όχι πράξεις, αλλά έτσι να κάνεις σχήματα και αυτά μου άρεσε.
Almost every facade in the village of Pyrgi is covered in these geometric patterns. Located on the island of Chios, it is a hypnotizing landscape made of triangles, rhombuses, and semicircles. Craftsmen employ a technique called xista, the Greek word for scratch.
Δεν μπορείς να έχεις σε ένα σχέδιο να είναι άσπρο και να ακολουθήσει μετά πάλι άσπρο, θα πρέπει να βρεις ένα σχέδιο που θα ταιριάζει να κάνει την αντίθεση. Ο χάρακας στο αλφάδι, από τα πιο βασικά, ο διαβήτης, το πυρούνι και το κυβελώνα.
Original global stories from the BBC.
Now it is time for the panel. John and Rina have got stories they want to talk to us about. John, tell us yours.
So mine is, I went to the British Museum's Silk Roads exhibition this week, and it's such an inspiring exhibition. It goes from the 6th century in Japan and China, and it stretches to north of Scotland, Aberdeenshire. It shows the transmission of garnets from Pakistan, from jewels, the interplay of religion, the interplay of trade. And there's an amazing bit where there's a Chinese blue and white plate, and I always think of blue and white china being the Chinese style. And this was produced in China for the Persian market, because the Persian market really liked white china with the blue coloring in it. And then that became to be defined as what was the Chinese style. And that sense of ideas moving, cultures moving, interacting, and us getting to know each other. And we've been talking a lot about conflict during this program. And yet for me, what was inspiring was so much of this cultural exchange was done peacefully, the transmission of ideas, of artistic forms, and it was just, it fills your heart.
Rina, of course, China has been, politically increasingly vilified, but its history is extraordinary.
It is. And I think, unfortunately, on the American side, we've had a lot of anti-China rhetoric, particularly given the COVID-19 pandemic landing on our shores. From then onward, we saw, again, more than just China's here to take all of our jobs and China wants just to sell to us and take all of our money. What we've seen is a real xenophobia. And I'm concerned about that. And I do think art and exhibits aimed at telling a beautiful story, history, reaching back and showing what's rich about a country can help break down some of that. And because it's ugly and there's really no good way to overcome it unless you show a more beautiful side. You counter that negativity with positivity.
And Rina, tell us your story for the day.
Oh, well, what I love here is drawing a link between my work as a political strategist and college students. So for years, I've advised candidates at all levels of U.S. government, but particularly those running for Congress. And when you're running a race, it's tough. You're very low on time. You're stressed out. You're not sleeping well. You're not eating well, much like college students. And so this study that I've just come across and was published only at the top of this month shows that short phone breaks during class could help college students score higher on tests and use their phone less during lectures. I think that's a really great thing. And it kind of throws me back memory-wise to a time when I was on the campaign trail with one of my candidates. And I literally had to take this candidate's phone and keep it away from the candidate. Just so that they would not use it and get distracted so often and get more tired from giving their energy online and offline. And so I think these short phone breaks, I don't know who these college students were calling. Maybe they were calling mom. I hope so. I'm a mom. And I hope my kids call me when they're in college. They're only in preschool right now. But I do think it's very promising because, again, maybe it's just showing that everybody needs a little neurological break from time to time.
OK, well, that is fascinating. I wish we had more time to talk about it because it is slightly counterintuitive. Lots of parents trying to get their kids off phones. Rina and John, it's been wonderful to have you with us this hour. Thank you so much for being with us. Just let me bring you one piece of breaking news this hour. The US plane maker Boeing has said that it is going to be cutting 10% of its workforce as it sees big third quarter losses. More on that coming up on BBC News. But for now, from me and the team, good night. Thanks for being with us.